Urgot Jungle might sound like a weird pick at first, since how the hell is a top laner with no mobility and solid dash spells going to make successful ganks? Well, first of all, he has a high range spell that slows in his kit, which is way easier to hit as a jungler since most low players are just running away in a straight line. And when Urgot once manages to get right next to them, after the flip you can be sure that they are going to die. But the major strength of this champion lies somewhere else. It is his ridiculously fast jungle clear speed, which is easy as well. Urgot can easily full clear before the scuttle spawns, and he is going to win most 1v1 fights against the enemy jungler, who probably isn't full health after his clear. And unlike Urgot, he actually has to be on the lane to collect a kill. But let's start step by step at the first jungle camp. At the start of the game, Urgot is going to get one of these jungle eggs. You can take the green one to get a bit more tankiness or the blue one to increase the movement speed during a gank. But no matter which one you choose, Urgot should always start at the red buff, and he doesn't even need a leash. First of all, Urgot is going to put the first skill point into the W spell, and by activating it, you unlock the machine gun that deals damage towards the closest target. Since the red buff is the only target in this area, all the shots are going into his direction. But the main damage comes from a different ability, his passive. When you take a closer look at Urgot legs, you will notice that they are glowing. This means the passive is active. And when you now auto-attack or shoot with the W spell into a direction where the passive is active, the auto-attack is going to increase his damage and is able to hit multiple targets as well. Since we want to maximize our damage output, Urgot has to circle around the red buff in order to use all passive legs, and finish the last few HP with some auto-attacks. When you don't get a leash, just smite that thing and move one to the next camp. The next skill point can be put into the Q spell, which is a missile that deals some AoE damage, and that should be used at the start of the camp, and make sure to hit both of these stones. When you haven't used your smite yet, use it on the big crud, and activate the W spell again to increase the damage output. And when the big one turned into several small ones, the Q spell should be up again, which can make them all disappear at once. Now move on to the next camp and the exact same thing, just make use of all spells whenever they are up. Try to hit as many monsters as possible with the Q spell and damage the big one with your machine gun, and make use of your passive whenever it's up. Last but not least, skill the E spell, which is a dash that provides Urgot with a small shield against incoming damage and deals some damage against everything this champion dashes through. This increases Urgot's sustain inside the jungle, although the sustain was already good in the first place. Just start the wolves with the Q spell, dash through all of them with the E spell, and last but not least finish it off with your machine gun. And don't forget to make use of your passive legs. From now on, that's basically the engage Urgot does on every jungle camp. Now do the blue buff first and finish off the clear with the gromp. When you have done everything right, you should be finished around about 3:30, just at the moment when the scuttle crab spawns. The great thing is, even when the enemy jungler is going for the same crab, Urgot Jungle can nearly always be sure to win a 1v1 fight against him. The shield and the passive just deal a little bit too much damage for most enemies to handle it. This is also the reason why you should spare the second smite and don't use it during the clear, in order to be ready to use it during the Who Gets Mr. Krabs duel. Now you are finished with all that jungle clearing bullshit, and you can focus on the ganking part. Take a look at the mini-map and see if there is any lane gankable. When that's not the case, Urgot should go back to base and buy the first part of an item. But when there is a moron overextending, you should go and punish that behavior. Urgot ganks are quite simple, but that also makes them very predictable. The only thing he can do is walk towards the enemy. In order to increase the success rate of these ganks, he should try to hit the enemy with the Q spell, which slows them by 45% for about 1.25 seconds. The problem is that this spell is a skill shot you have to hit, and it takes some time to detonate until it does his work. The good thing is, most enemies in this elo just run away in a straight line, so it makes them quite predictable as well. When they get hit by Urgot's slow, it gives this Spider-Man more than enough time to catch up and get into the range where he can make use of the most important spell, the flip. Once you have managed to catch the enemy with this ability, the gank is going to be 90% successful, since not only is Urgot going to flip them over and thus increasing the range towards the safety zone, he also stuns the enemy for 1.5 seconds. After that, this guy is going to activate his machine gun and try to deal as much damage as possible with his passive. But there is one problem. The W spell is normally going to focus the closest target, and when the enemy is standing inside a minion wave, you won't be able to hit him. The good news is, when Urgot has managed to hit the Q spell on the enemy, he gets marked, which means that the machine gun is going to prioritize him as a target and is thus able to hit him through a minion wave. Together with another teammate, this is probably a safe kill. And when you think that the enemy is not in your spell range, just cast the E ability and use flash in order to increase the dash range of the flip spell. This can barely be dodged by the enemy laner. And when they have placed a ward, Urgot is the perfect champion to clear it, since his machine gun can get rid of it in a matter of seconds. After a successful gank, Urgot should go back and continue clearing his jungle. Due to the fact that his clear speed is so good, you can easily clear and look for a gank window. And Urgot is going to max out the W spell, which is your main damage tool combined with his passive, and by maxing this spell out, you can remove the cooldown of this ability and activate and deactivate the machine gun whenever you would like to. But before that happens, this spider monster is going to unlock an ability which allows him to gank a lane without even being there. His ultimate Fear Beyond Death. This spell has the ability to execute any opponent that falls below 25% of their max HP, and it has a solid range and can even be used outside of the lane and kill enemies that survived a close combat fight. Or use it while two of them are fighting each other, and Urgot's ultimate can then steal the kill. I mean save his teammate at the last moment. Besides stealing kills, this ultimate can also be used to help one of you carries during an engage, since right at the moment when they get hit by this thing, they get slowed by 75%, allowing your teammate to catch up and collect a free kill. I mean, you are going to collect a free kill as soon as they get an execution range. But there is one certain risk when you use your ultimate like I did in the past minute. Yes, it has a solid range, but it is also quite hard to hit when this projectile has to travel a large distance. In order to make sure that Urgot will never miss this spell again, you should gank the lane like you did before this spider has reached level 6. And that means walking towards the lane like a normal human being. Just do the same things I have told you before, with the small difference to use the ultimate in between of the combo. As soon as Urgot has managed to flip his opponent over, you create a small window where you shoot your ultimate on a target that is stunned and is standing right next to you. So it's basically impossible to miss it from here.
When you believe, everything is possible.
And now just do the same things I have mentioned before and you should be able to collect a free kill. Since once they are in execution range, it doesn't matter where they are standing. Urgot can pull them from anywhere on the map. The problem is they have to get into that execution range in the next 4 seconds after the projectile hit. Otherwise you have wasted your key ability, which basically guarantees Urgot a kill during a gank. Late game, Urgot becomes a bruiser with the major task to hit the enemy hyper carry with the ultimate and fear the whole team in the process after executing the enemy. This has the potential to turn a whole team fight around, and get rid of the other teammates with the W spell, which can easily proc the passive leg on every direction. And these legs will permanently up again since the passive cooldown gets reduced to 2.5 seconds when Urgot reaches level 13. And don't forget to make use of the auto attack, W 3 times into auto attack in order to maximize your DPS on this champ. Here are the build and runes for Urgot Jungle. And if you are wondering why an orange jungle is always one item ahead and is a terrifying jungler, click on this video right here.